and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa and this channel is called Little Kosher Lunch, but sometimes I take opportunities like this one to talk about Jewish holidays and themes, and coming up in the next week is the holiday of Tu Bishvat, which is the birthday of the trees in Judaism. It is in modern times celebrated as a sort of Jewish Earth Day. And so since I've gotten a lot of great feedback from you guys about my crafts videos and holiday videos, I wanted to do a big roundup for you today. And I have a lot of different sensory activities so that you can find something that is easy for you to do that also matches the personality and interests of your child. So let's dive right in. I think if I can get through all of them, I should have 20 ideas to share with you. Wish me luck, because I do have to go to carpool after this. So let's get started. The first one is a song for you guys, and I will have a song for you at the end. And I love this song from my childhood. I actually looked up the words to make sure that I remembered all of them. And this is a Tu Bishvat song in Hebrew, and I'll just sing a little bit of it to you, and then I will link to it down below if you want to hear professional singers singing it. But I can assure you that for your child, you are a good enough singer to sing this. The song is HaSchediya Porachat, which means the almond tree is blooming. The almond trees do bloom in Israel around this time of year. They're beautiful blossoming branches. They're a sign of spring, and they're really like emblematic to the holiday of Tu Bishvat. So you'll see a lot of crafts out there that are around the almond tree theme. HaSchediya. Oh, shoot, I didn't get the whole song. Oh, here we go. Sorry, that was the title. HaSchediya porachat v'shemesh pazorachat tziporim merosh kol gag mevasrot bo hachag Tu Bishvat Higiyah chag ha'ilanot Tu Bishvat Higiyah Higlyah. And my kid's favorite part is this one. It's the la 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 part. And then we sing la 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 la. And then there's other verses, but basically the song goes that the almond trees are blossoming and that Tu Bishvat is here, Tu Bishvat is coming, and the birds are singing, and it's just a beautiful springtime song. So I have very fond memories of this song as a child, and if you're unfamiliar with it, I hope that you enjoyed my version. The next on my list of Tu Bishvat activities that you can do with your family is just to pull out garden themed books. And in my last video, I did a smaller roundup of Tu Bishvat activities that are typical for what we do. Normally, I wouldn't do all 20 of these in the same year. Just look for games and books that you already have that are on the themes of trees or gardening. I pulled out both adult garden sort of sciencey books or farming books. I shared my citrus one in the last video. I have another citrus one because my parents used to farm citrus, so these were their work books for their business. But I also pulled out sort of hobbyist books like an encyclopedia of indoor plants. This is a tree identification book. Whether you take these out into nature, do a leaf identification exercise, do rubbings of leaves, whatever you want to do with these is okay, but it's a great starting point to have a conversation with your family. I also pulled out storybooks, like the book Mandy is one of my favorite books, and there's a lot of gardening and making pretty in nature. And The Wind in the Willows was another that just caught my eye on the bookshelf. This is something that I know a lot of you guys might already have, so that's why I just lumped it in with the children's books as a fun thing to do with your kids about the theme of trees, fruits, and the things that nature gives us. I'm gonna put these away. They make a lot of noise. Let's continue the theme of books for just one moment, and then we're gonna segue into a craft activity. My children are very interested in maps right now, and we've been talking a lot about mapping and trails and treasure hunts and things like that. Mapping our neighborhood, mapping where our friends live, snails and mapping, but that's another video for another time. So I have things on my bookshelf that are a little bit more architecturally oriented, like this is just one random example called The Small Garden book. I love this book because it's very inspiring for people with small properties. But in this book, there's a concept that I think is helpful, which is architectural drawings of gardens. Now, I dreamt up this architectural drawing example that I'm going to test drive on my children, so I haven't actually carried it out yet. For our house, in pulling permits for various projects, I have done architectural drawings of our house. You could just do one on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be accurate. But what I think is really interesting is to start talking with your kids about what's on an architectural drawing, and usually it's just the architecture or just the buildings. And what's missing from here are the trees and the plants. So there are two ways that you can do this activity. I would call this activity number 4 and 5 on my list. The first one is just give these to your kids as a coloring sheet, and your children can see, where is our house, where is our garage, this is our pool, this is north, and your kids can just color in where the trees are on your property. And they could even put lemons on the lemon tree, and they could put flowers on the crabapple tree, and they could do it with as much or as little detail as they want. If your house or place where you live doesn't have so many trees, you could also do one step further and put tissue paper over this, or take a picture of your house and put tissue paper over it, and you could actually dream up what the landscape should look like and do like an architectural landscape architectural drawing of the landscape where you live. So this is something that I think is going to be fun. I'm not sure, but we're going to try it out with my kids because they do have this interest in maps. I have other maps of our property, so you can see, like, I think it's an interesting conversation to have with kids. The other version that you can do of this, if you're like afraid of drawing or your kids are not interested in using drawing implements, is to do it as a photo collage. And I have started and prepared for this activity with my kids by going and taking pictures of things in our yard, cut out, and let your kids put the hedge where the hedge goes, put the crabapple tree where the crabapple tree grows. Here's the lemon tree, and here's the Christmas tree. And this could be like this could look like a very David Hockney photo collage after you're done, a la Pearblossom Highway. I may have lost you there, but maybe I can stick in some B-roll and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so that was number 4 and 5. Sorry, I talked a long time about landscape architecture, but it's something of interest to me. Let's move on and let's talk about flower picking and arranging. I presented this activity to my oldest daughter, who's 6, yesterday, and I just gave her a pair of scissors and a jar, and I told her to go pick flowers in our yard, and she was like, "Really, mommy?" Because normally I say don't do that, and I'm trying to do that less. So just flower picking or branch picking or leaf picking in your yard. If it's on your own property, I say go for it. If you're out in nature and it's a weed, I'd say go for it. If you're at a friend's or a family member's house and they give you permission, do it. I think it's so much fun. It's something that I have memories of doing as a kid, especially when I was like Shabbat girl at school and it was my job to bring flowers, and I always like picked a rose and wrapped it in tinfoil and I would carry it to school. So picking flowers is just a really joyful experience that maybe you can do in your climate. If it's not possible, you can still do flower arranging and go to the supermarket and maybe pick some inexpensive things. I actually pulled out a few prompts to just get you excited about this. You could give your child a real vase, like this fun Japanese style one with goldfish, or kind of a kitschy vase, or a vase that maybe they've made, which my oldest daughter made at a birthday party. You can also supply your kids with jars, like a jam jar or a yogurt jar. And then I have, because I am me, some flower arranging books. I have some bigger ones too. These are just the easy to look at little ones. And I think that kids really like looking at grown-up books. I think it really honors your child to be like, you're old enough to look at my grown-up books. And these are fascinating and beautiful, and they might give your kid inspiration, whether you're going to Trader Joe's and picking up, $5 or $10 worth of flowers, or going out in your own yard. Flower arranging is a skill. It's a profession. So try that out. Next up, you can flower arrange or be creative in an artistic way by making a garden plan using plants as your palette. I have these red tulips here, these little white crocus. These have literally been living in my refrigerator drawer, much to my husband's chagrin, taking up space. We're gonna do some planting in pots, and I'm gonna let my kids decide. Do you want like red and another color mixed in? Do you want to do red flowers with a white border? So in a creative kind of composition or colorist sort of way, you can do art with your garden and decide on how you want to arrange your flowers to grow and bloom in the garden. So that's just another jumping off point depending on what your child is interested in. Let's talk about eating. because I'm really into hot toddies right now. The weather is cold. Spiced cider is a really fun thing to do, or virgin hot toddies. See if you can make this a sensory exercise using a bunch of things from a tree. So if you're making a hot toddy, you're gonna have decaffeinated tea, lemon, honey, and you can stir it with a cinnamon stick, which is the bark from a cinnamon tree. To make hot spiced cider, you can do this by warming up pressed cider, whatever kind you like, warm it up on the stove with your kids and stick whatever spices in that you like. You can even take a physical apple and stud it with cloves and do like the apple pomander, stick the cinnamon sticks in, stick in orange rind, whatever you want to do to spice your cider, but that can be a different and wonderful way to experience the gifts from trees. Number 10, colored washi tape trees a la Alphabetics. I pulled out Alphabetics in my last video. I'll link it up for you. And I actually am substitute teaching in nursery school right now, and I test drove this on a bunch of kids who just didn't see it coming. So let me show you. So I did this setup in a class with 3-year-olds. Based on my experience, 3-year-olds might be just really into the tape, and this might be better for like 4.5, 5, 6-year-olds. Using masking tape, painter's tape, scotch tape, like a colored tape would be good. Here's some fancy washi tape that we got as a party favor, which was such a nice party favor. Now the beauty of this activity is do whatever you want with it. I gave the kids in my classroom crayons, or colored pencils work. They can add whatever they want. I gave them also additional strips of tape so they could make this a really crowded tree that needs pruning, which most of them did. You could use paint and stamp on bushy branches. You could put on fruits and fruit stickers to make it a fruit tree, but it's kind of fun to use different mediums with your kids. And I thought that tape was a really graphic, nice way that was sort of inspired by that Alphabetics book with the letter T for tree. Fairy gardens. I'm not going to show them here, but I have done fairy gardens and they can go well or not go well, but I'm going to link up my fairy gardens video for you guys from last year. I do think that planting like little miniature gardens or sprouting seeds with your kids is still a classic and wonderful thing to do for Tu Bishvat. Regrowing vegetables is another activity that I really love doing year round. The Frugal Minimalist has this amazing video that I love about regrowing veggies. We like to do green onion bottoms, you could do bok choy, you can do carrot tops, and this is a no-cost activity basically that you can do in your kitchen, and you might get something to eat as a result. 13, rotisserie chicken greenhouses. So stand by. I don't buy a lot of rotisserie chicken. I probably do buy a lot of fried chicken. So here's a fried chicken container from our market. I try not to buy a lot of things in packaging, but when I do buy things in packaging, I often will buy the things in packaging that I already know I want to reuse for something else. The rotisserie chicken containers have little vent holes. They have a nice dome and they're clear on top, and the same goes for this one. This is a nice long one. I also do buy a lot of eggs, and I really love eggs that come in the cardboard pulp containers. This egg carton, I think, yep, maybe I need to cut one off, but essentially you could fit probably 18 cells or 12 cells or 15, whatever, in here. Fill it with potting mix, plant your seeds. We could do peas, we could do lettuce, we could do peppermint, you could do parsley for Tu Bishvat and use it at Passover. I don't know if that timeline is gonna work for you guys, but you could plant anything that doesn't mind being transplanted. Do it in these little peat, whatever they are, cardboard pulp egg cartons. And then this greenhouse atmosphere is gonna keep the things warmer and more moist for better growing conditions, less likely to wilt and die if you forget to water them. And then you can literally cut the cells and plant the whole thing in your garden when the weather warms up where you are. And these are free. And then you can recycle them when you're done. So I love this one. Let me know, by the way, down below which number or which thing in this video is your favorite, because I really want to know. So I know who my audience is. I think my husband really liked that one. All right, number 14, edible pictures. I'm just going to reference this one. I mentioned it in my last video. If you're new here, I'm just going to link it up for you. But edible pictures, this is similar to what you'd call a Tu Bishvat Seder, but it's kind of a one-off where you can put out an assortment of fruits, dried, fresh, olives, nuts, things that come off of trees. Give them to your kids, give them blank canvases, which are plates, and let them play with their food. 15, grafted trees. You could do whatever you want with this topic, but I find grafted trees really fascinating. So this would be a tree of one variety, let's say a citrus tree, where many different types of citrus are grafted onto the same trunk. So this would be like a grapefruit, an orange, a tangerine, and a lemon. You can buy these things at places as common as Home Depot. They're not super expensive. You could go buy one. You could just talk about them. You could go to the library and look up the concept of tree grafting. I think what's beautiful about Tu Bishvat is that it is like a God and farmer coming together sort of holiday. And I think it's just miraculous that you can graft one tree onto another tree and have them grow together. I think whoever the first person was to do this, like their mind blew up. So I love the idea of tree grafting, and I love it for crafts. So if you want to talk about this concept and then do a craft similar to the washi tape one where you make a fruit salad tree, let your kids have at that. I think it's just a really tantalizing sort of fantasy for children to play out in artwork. Okay, forest bulbs is number 16, or nature finds from trees. So forest bulbs I have for you here. These are Narcissus Paperwhites. I forgot to water them, but I put more water in today. But we forced these around Hanukkah time. So it's, 3, 4, 5 weeks, depending on when we did this batch. And they smell fabulous. Forcing bulbs is a great indoor activity if you live somewhere very cold for the winter. It's a great way to understand how a living thing will grow. These bulbs are similar to an onion that you might get and have growing in your pantry by accident. Within this basket, and I've talked about bulb forcing in past years when I've bought them just ready-made. You can buy bulbs like this in the indoor plant section at your grocery store. You might find little daffodils this time of year, other things. This is a bulb forcer for a single hyacinth bulb that I bought last year, and I saved it and I got for $5 additional bulbs to put in fresh this year. So I have 3 or so in here. I did refrigerate them to give them the best shot at life. You fill the water up to the root end of the bulb, and this is a great 15-minute activity to do with your kids, but then you can enjoy it day by day and see the progression of the growth of your plant. You can also use tiny pebbles. I bought these fancy ones at the nursery that are golden, which I felt go really nicely with my dusty rose bulb forcing containers. And for these, I'm going to be doing these other little indoor bulbs, the tiny crocus and the muscari grape hyacinths. I looked far and wide for these, but you can mail order them and they are so beautiful. These I hope to have ready for, I don't know, we'll see when I plant them, but I've seen them on tables at Passover time and they're very beautiful. You'll see them at Easter time. So depending on the time frame, we may have an event with these on the table. The tulips I'm going to be putting in the yard, but forest bulbs. Other nature finds, I did do a little sort of nature setup for you. These are beautiful California pepperberries that I went out on a walk with my youngest daughter and we picked recently in our neighborhood. They grow in our area. You might recognize these from your pepper mill when you get a mixed pepper in a mill to crack. They're really beautiful. They're really nice for crafts, so that's probably what we'll end up using them for. And then here's just another sort of show and tell of things that we pick up that come from trees and plants that we love just from our environment. So pine cones, a lemon from our tree. These 2 orange and tangerine came from neighbors' trees. And then my 3-year-old picked this bell pepper yesterday and she's so proud of it. Forced branches. So the Schkediyah song is really kind of talking about this. You may be able to go to Trader Joe's or your supermarket and find in the floral section branches right now. Forsythia is really big in the East, and I love yellow forsythia. I have pussy willow forced branches. So if you don't have a green thumb and you don't want to go the route of forcing bulbs, let's talk about these little, they're like a little bunny rabbit tail. These little pussy willows I think are so fantastic. I think these cost me $5. And in the grand scheme of buying cut flowers, the branches last a really long time. I've had these for probably 3 weeks now. And I took a bunch of them to the nursery school class, and they've had theirs for 3 weeks, and we're getting a lot of mileage out of them. So this is really great bang for your buck and very appropriate for the holiday of Tu Bishvat. We're moving on. Felt and Fingerplay. So you know I love felt board stories. My kids still haven't outgrown them. They actually made me set up the easel with 2 felt boards recently because they both wanted to play felt at the same time. I have 1 sheet of black felt that's cut from the fabric store, and I looked up a Fingerplay rhyme, but I turned it into felt, and you can do this too. So this is from Miss Nina. This is my soil. Mind you, this is a really cheap and easy thing that your kids will think is so fancy. You just need like $2 of felt, a thing of tacky glue, and some scissors. So here we go. First, you take a seed and you plant it in the ground. The ground, you plant it in the ground. Then you take some water and you pour it all around. Around. You pour it all around. Then you give it air. This is where I don't have any felt. Then you give it air. Then you give it time. Then a tree starts to grow. Ain't that fine? And just to give my children choices, I made a bigger tree too in case they wanted to show the growth of the tree. Now, if you want to take this one step further, you can just cut out the felt, give it to a young child, let them glue it together, let them put pom-poms or fruits or paint on it. You can let them decorate it, but in its simplest form, I think this is enough. Outdoor art, we did this yesterday. I took the kids outside, we were doing painting. And where should painting really be done? It should really be done outside your house. So it was great. This could be painting outside, but you could do other art activities outside. If you want to take your pastels, you take your Legos outside, any activity that you're doing outside, consider making it a Tu Bishvat nature activity and do it outdoors if weather permits. Number 20. I made it. Non-Jewish songs that are relevant for Tu Bishvat. I mean, I know you have a favorite one out there. I can tell you my husband's favorite, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Lemon Tree. But look it up if you don't know it. It's such a pretty song and my kids love it. Another song that I sing to my kids all the time because I was a Girl Scout and now I have a Girl Scout is White Coral Bells. And I will leave you with that song to conclude my roundup of activities. As I reminded you before, please leave a comment down below because I just like throw this at you like spaghetti on the wall, and I would love to know what you enjoyed from this video. Here is the song White Coral Bells in case you weren't a Girl Scout. White coral bells upon a slender stalk, lily of the valley decks my garden walk. Oh, don't you wish that you could hear them ring? That will only happen when the fairies sing. And that song is traditionally sung in a round. So if you have an older child or many Girl Scouts with you, you can teach them that song and sing it again and again and start 2 different groups at different times and do it in a round. I hope you enjoyed these ideas. They're great for Earth Day. They're great for Tu Bishvat. They're great for just entertaining children any time of year. They're definitely activities that we enjoy or that I think we're gonna enjoy as my kids get older. And as always, I value your time. I thank you for being here. I have so much fun doing this YouTube channel with you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and take care and have a great holiday. Bye-bye.